What's up, everybody? We're here today with another Take a Peek episode. We're going to open the box and take a peek at Football Manager 2014. Now, this game, it pretty much has no audio. It's just going to be me talking, except when we're in the matches. And the match is going to end this episode. So stay tuned. If you want to see the game of Swindon v Newcastle, stay tuned to the very end of the episode. But basically, Football Manager 2014 is a business simulation where you take the job of a head coach of a team of your choice, pretty much any team in the world, although there are some limitations. It's more heavily biased towards Europe and South America than anything else, but primarily Europe. There's a lot of Asian teams, there are North American teams, and there are African teams, but for the most part, Europe is where all the action happens, and that makes sense. When you think of the football world, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I feel like I need to clarify right off the bat. This is football in the sense of kicking a ball with your feet, in the sense of how it's used all around the world. Football, whatever you want to call it. It is also known as soccer in many parts of the world, and that's typically what it's called here in America, but I still prefer the name football personally. Anyways, those of you familiar with football might be wondering how little old Swindon Town ended up in the Premiership, and that's actually through very good seasons in a row. We just kind of flew up the leagues and ended up in the highest league in England. Not one of the best teams in England. There are probably better teams in the championship, but still, we ended up in the highest league. So, anyways, we're playing in the highest league. That's the point. Anyways, basically, Football Manager 2014, it's part of an ongoing series all the way since 2007 or 2008. I know it was roughly initially based off of FIFA Manager, which was, I believe, made by EA. But they discontinued that series, and Sports Interactive continued on with Football Manager 2014, which they have done a phenomenal job with, I must say. In 30 minutes, I could not cover every aspect of this game, so I'm going to make this pretty short, pretty brief. The shortest thing I can say about this game is infinitely deep and infinitely complicated, and they make it more complicated and deeper with every iteration of the game. 2015 is going to be even more impressive than 2014, and 2014 is way better than 2013. So, the basics of Football Manager 2014. It's pretty simple. You have your team, you pick your team. You can see I've done that. And then you take control of the team as a head coach. So you can see I'm right here, the head coach, MOH, the old team that I'm not a part of anymore. And then, of course, TGN, who I'm currently partnered with. I am the head coach. I have basically full control of this entire team. Now, what I can do is pretty broad. I can hire, fire staff. You can see I have a huge amount of staff. A lot of staff. I can change what the staff do, their responsibilities. I control most everything, though. Youth team players, I let the head of youth development find places for them, although actually I should let Mike Rigg, the general manager, do that. I let Barry Whitbread, the chief scout, update me on what the sports scouts have found for players in the world. Tell me who's good, who's not. And then I let my under-21s head coach and under-18s head coach take care of those respective teams, and let my assistant coach tell me how the youth teams are doing. Well, actually, I should probably be the head of youth development. Although I could give that job to the under-18s head coach, although he hasn't really impressed me. If I don't give it to the head of youth development, then head of youth development's doing nothing. What I can't do is stuff that relates to the board. So I can't provide the club with extra money. I cannot hire or fire myself. And I can't talk to the press about club-related issues most of the time. there are specific instances when I can have a meeting with the board, and if things don't go my way, I can leak that information secretly, air quotes, secretly, to the press, and the press will then be like, "What's going on over here?" And the president will have to answer that. I don't do that because it's really mean, but it is something you can do. The AI in this game is actually fairly good. It's not the best, but it's designed pretty well. You know, if I were to leak information about the club to the press and force the president to address it, then the president would pretty much figure out that it was me that did it, and he wouldn't like me as much or trust me as much, and that's not a good thing. I mean, if I get what I want because my board trusts me, because the president trusts me, not because I jerk them around with the press. That being said, just going into the boardroom here, this has a lot of information on it, but it's pretty straightforward. Your finances are on the bottom. How much staff you can have is over here. Current projects, who we're affiliated with, how much money we're allowed to spend, what the board thinks of me leading the team, what we have doing for scouting. We can scout the entire world, so there's no restrictions. But if there were restrictions, it would be listed here. And then how the president feels about me and the club is right here. Uh, this game can be very overwhelming with the amount of data it throws at you. I'm clicking through just a couple things, and you can already see there's just so much to look at. It takes a lot of time and practice and a lot of clicking around and patience to learn everything in this game and how everything works. Once you do, it becomes very easy. It's not a problem. I've spent 2,000 plus hours on the Football Manager series and almost 800 in this particular game. So this is very simple to me. It's like I can glance, I know what to look at, I know what not to look at. I almost never come in here anymore unless I need to change my budget. I can't do that right now because I'm spending over budget, but if I had money to spend, I could move the slider and change how much money I have to buy and sell players versus how much money I have to pay them. Talking about money, you can see the gist of the finances down here in millions of dollars. You can get more detailed information over in the finances, you know, your turnover, expenditure, and all of that. And then you can go through each specific one, see where your money's coming from, what's costing you, what are your salary commitments long term, and whether or not you're complying with financial fair play. So financial fair play is basically we are allowed to lose $23 million this year. The league, FIFA, says we're allowed to lose $23 million this year. The board projects we're going to make $58 million this year. So we're doing fine. We're not even close. And currently, we've made $31 million this year. That's pretty good. And the same thing, this is for the Barclays Premier League, but also for the continental clubs, we're looking at an allowable loss of only $6 million to play in the Europa League. But again, currently we've made 31 and we're at 58 projected. Now this is subject to change. We're very early on into the year. But you know, this is what the board thinks of me in greater detail. Remember, board confidence right here. You can see you're secure, but if you want details about that, you can see it all in here. What the board thinks of you, what the fan thinks of various games that have happened, and what the fans think about the players that have moved in and out of the club. In is green, out is red. What they think about it, as well as players that have been performing particularly well or particularly poorly. Now, of course, a boardroom would not be complete unless you could actually talk to the board. You can see I've already done this here. Pretty straightforward. It's like, hey, I want to increase the percentage of the transfer revenue. And they're like, you know, we don't want to do that. But I've done so well for the club. And I'm like, you know, I really think this is important, guys. You really should do this. And they're like, yeah, okay, fine. We trust you. Fine. We'll increase the percentage of your transfer revenue. And then I say, hey, we should increase the academy. And I'm like, you know, this could really help us. And they're like, yeah, okay, fine. And then I ask them to allow me to spend more money on assistant coaches, and they're like, no, absolutely not. We gave you two things, we're not giving you any more. Pretty straightforward interaction. It's all very scripted, but what happens, what comes out of this changes based on your relationship with the board and how well the team is doing. I mean, going back to the main overview, let's click on the team name or over here at overview. You can see that we started 2012, 2013, and we got 6th. And then we moved up. We got for second. We got second, and we got promoted. And then we got third, and we won. We got first, and we got promoted again. You can see the history in much greater detail if you really want. But boy, when we got promoted in the Skybet Championship, we got promoted. It was nuts. We almost set 2 new records. We set 1 in points. We almost set 2 for goals scored. But I started playing from this point on, I believe. I think so. Started playing from this point on, which is not bad. 3 years, I've done a lot for this club, and so the board allows me to do a lot. And that's what I'm talking about. The AI is actually pretty good, because if you do well, you can prove that you've done well, then obviously the board will respond appropriately. We've increased our actual value by, well, like 20 times over, I think, from where it started. It's actually pretty impressive. But this is all, this past 5-10 minutes has all been dedicated to just the overview, the brief summary. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, obviously we have the stadium, we have our matches, what we've done, who we've done well against. Otherwise, our entire fixture for the season, fixture list, overview of everything. You jump into this. This is what we opened up with. Again, overwhelming amounts of information. You have to look at each little thing at one at a time, because it will overwhelm you. But you can see I'm in a lot of team competitions. The FA Cup, Capital One Cup, that's pretty much every year. The league, and this year it's Barclays Premiership. Last year it was the Skybet Championship. A couple years before that, League One. And then Copa America, the World Cup qualifiers, the Community Shield, and the Europa League. So Swindon Town is participating in Europa League through the Community Shield. But if you notice a little thing up here, you can see I'm managing a national team as well. This is Argentina. And they are competing in the World Cup qualifiers and Copa America. Now, I actually got pretty lucky getting into Argentina. The previous head coach of Argentina did a really good job. Then he lost against Brazil in Copa America. One of the greatest rivalry in South America is Brazil-Argentina. He lost, so he stepped down. And at the time, I was actually managing the Olympics team for Argentina. And he stepped down, so I stepped up to Argentina's main team, and so far we've done all right. We tied Brazil, better than what the previous head coach could say. And we beat Peru. Blah. So we're doing all right so far. But those of you that are confused, the Americans specifically, might be confused by the dates. This is day, month, year, for what it's worth. Day, month, year. You can see they only happen twice a month. These matches happen. And it's really not that big of an issue. Why I can already submit my team. I haven't gone through everything, but whatever. I could talk for hours upon hours explaining every little facet of everything, but just know that pretty much everything is tracked in this game. I have my own personal profile. You can see when I started as Argentina Under-23's head coach, which is the Olympics. Did that for 2016 and then moved up to head coach of the Argentina right after that. And I've been head coach of Swindon since 2013. My knowledge of the world, how the game perceives my abilities. So I'm really good at finances, pretty good at discipline. I am not loyal at all to my players. If I don't like how they're doing, I will sell them. Loyalty not great. And I don't really buy domestic players. I don't get people from England, even though we're an English club. We're a very international team. My reputation's national. I'm great with the media, fairly consistent, and a very hands-on approach. This is the tactics I like. My achievements can be seen down here, and of course in greater detail in the history section of achievements. And it's not very easy to see what's happening if you look at everything that has happened. But the landmarks, those are the important ones. You know, we won the John Stones Paint Trophy. We got promoted from League One. We won the championship. We won the FA Cup. We won the Community Shield. It doesn't say second places, but that's okay. Like there's no landmark here for getting a silver medal in the Olympics, which sucked. I wanted a gold, but we got silver. No silver medal as a landmark. But you can look as overall, you can see Olympic Games runner-up. It's still in there. It's just not a landmark, unfortunately. I kind of wish it would be. Of course, you can go further. You can look at your own biography, what has happened so far. It writes your own story. As you play the game, it will write your story. Let's see the awards. Here we go. So you can see head coach of the year for the Skybet Championship, head coach of the month a lot, and then head coach of the month, various awards that I got, and that makes sense going back to the profile. You can see I have 1 gold, that's the head coach of the year, and then various trophies, as well as how well I've done. 61% win percentage, it's not bad. My salary, I've deliberately made it very, very low, so I have more money to spend on players. In real life, heck no, I would be paying myself thousands per week. I'm worth thousands per week. But it's just a game, so I'm not too worried about that. Besides, I'm getting $7,500 per week from Argentina. So, that's where my money's coming from, is Argentina. And again, you can just go around and look at all sorts of stuff. You can, as far as players go, you can obviously look at your team, the nations they're from, their ages, their values, everything about your players you can see. You have your tactics, your team numbers, registration, set pieces, penalties, captains, all sorts of different training, your matches, schedules, your next opponent, match analysis, backroom advice from your coaches. You can have a team meeting if things aren't going well or if things are going really well. Various reports giving you various things to look at to improve how you play your team and your tactics. And then, of course, the scouting. There's always scouting. Let's see, where is it? Scouting. This is all knowledge on scouting. This goes back into the Swindon Town overview. But if you actually want to find players, I mean, yes, this is scouting knowledge, which is great. If you want to find actual players, use search players. Give it a minute to load here. There are hundreds of thousands of players, most of which I don't know anything about. Like, what are you? You're a 22-year-old big guy worth $225,000. Let's scout you. Just that easy. Scouting in progress. I'll get a report here the next day telling me all about this guy. Who knows? He might be some great defender that I didn't even know existed. Jumping way down here. 625,000. Defender over at Rotherham. Get a fresh update on him. I know his stats. We've scouted him before. But you can scout all sorts of stuff. These are all defenders that are expiring in 1 year. Their contracts are expiring in a year. You can do a lot of different things. A lot of different things. Find a player that fits exactly what you want. That is possible. It is very possible. So, not going to go too much in depth on scouting. It's just know that there is a player out there that fits exactly what you want. It just may take a while to find them. Of course, you can look at recently viewed players as well. Who did you look at? Does it matter? What are they doing? Buy, sell players. This is all done in the transfer market. You can see I had an offer from Cardiff. They were trying to buy my player Yakubu, and they were offering me $8 million for him, which I promptly rejected because that's nowhere near good enough. But I also purchased Yoshishiko Yanagimoto from Funabashi Bandits. I purchased him for $1.2 million, and he'll be joining the club at the end of this football season. So mid-2017, about a year from now, he'll be joining the club. So hopefully he'll actually develop and end up being a nice, good purchase for us. May not play for the first team, but hopefully someone that I can sell for a good deal of money. Just have to give him some time. Of course, you can look at transfer history. What have we done specifically? And then if you go into the league, you can actually look at what everyone has done, which, again, can be very overwhelming information. Search for players, search for staff, players out on loan or players that you have on the club for loan. You can see I have quite a few young players out on loan at various different teams. And then, of course, clauses. Different clauses based on transfer agreements. So when you sell a player, you can throw in clauses. So say I list Yakubu for $10 million, but Cardiff only has $8 million. Well, they can throw in a clause that'll say 10% of their next transfer fee is owed to Swindon. Fair enough. Or 25%. Or in the case of, well, 40%. From Crystal Palace. But in the case of, where is it? Here we go. Kisuki Honda. The club that I bought Honda from will be due another $375,000 after he makes 10 international appearances. 10% of the profit made on the transfer will be owed to them. And they are owed another $135,000 per month for the next 2 years. I'm paying them for this transfer. 4 clauses because I didn't have enough money. I just did a lot of clauses. And honestly, I have no intentions to ever sell Honda. So 50% of his transfer fee is not a problem for me. You know, if I hold on to him and then let him go for a free transfer, this clause means nothing because the transfer fee is 0, as well as this clause means nothing. This clause only takes effect if he plays internationally, which he will. I guarantee it. He's very good. And, of course, this one is just 2 years, how much money I owe them per month. So, at this point, I'm just yapping and yapping about just so much, and there's always so much to talk about. You can upgrade, you can see basic stats about your club, how much your tickets cost. You can't change it, but you can see it. Of course, fans, what they think of players, and people, staff. You can see Wesley Fotheringham and 2 of my other players are on there. I think I'm on here somewhere. Maybe, maybe not. There I am. I'm an icon of the club. So that's pretty cool. See all of the honors the club has ever received. And then a lot of this is based off of the real club with real information, which is really cool. You can see your facilities. The board can upgrade your facilities if you ask. And then, of course, affiliated clubs. Who's the parent? Who's the feeder? What does it say? All 3 of these are just that I can give players to these 3 teams, and they can train them, they can play for them, whatever. History, you have your best 11, you have historic competitions, landmarks that have been made, other head coaches, which doesn't actually go back all that far, records that have been made. And there's so much little tidbits of information in here, tiny details in every facet, that it's really is amazing how much there is to look at in this game. I can flip through other leagues, see how they're doing, but for the most part, I don't care. Now you can see matches, you can see records for the FA Cup in this case, past winners. We won the FA Cup, so we were allowed to play in the Community Shield, and we played against Arsenal. Somehow we won, because Arsenal, we beat them 3-0. I don't even know how that happened, but because Arsenal won the Barclays Premiership last year. So it's the FA Cup winner versus the Barclays Premiership winner. In that case, we actually won the Community Shield, which mostly is just for bragging rights. But it felt good to beat Arsenal, let me tell you. It felt really good to beat Arsenal. A value difference. They are 10 times the value of us. So it felt good. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. The message system in this game is pretty good. Again, there's a lot. Each message is color-coded here on the side. Green for good things. Pink for notifications. Blue for player and finance stuff. A slightly different green for tournaments versus the league versus scouting. Everything has its own special color. White for contract eligible. Lots of scouting reports in here. Red for injuries and bad things, like fines or red cards. Suspensions of the sort. Calendars, there's a calendar up here. There's a nice little help system. The game has a pretty good tutorial, but it is kind of tedious. Notice I'm only clicking on a select few of these. There's a lot to look at. You can see all your matches through the entire season. They're all set except for the Continental Competition, which is the Europa League, which is a lot different from the Barclays Premiership or League games. Continental competitions are a lot more cutthroat. Very exciting. We're actually doing the best right now. After one game, we are doing the best in the entire competition, which is great. Again, there are seedings for various teams based off their coefficients and how they perform in their respective leagues. They start in various locations. We are a complete dark horse. If I can flip the coefficient here. Not actually in here. Hang on. There we are. Okay, so our coefficient is actually 15. It was 0. Our coefficient's now 15. But we are a fairly unknown team, and we're expected to not even progress out of the group stages. But you can already see with us leading the entire thing, we're doing very well. So we're on course to leave the group stages, which is better than what we're supposed to do. Although the board actually expects me. If I go back to Swindon, the board expects me to get out of the group stages. If we look at the Europa League, minimum expectation is that we reach the quarterfinal. We have a chance to reach the quarterfinal. Now, for the Premiership, we just need to stay in the league. That's all the board wants. The FA Cup wants us to get to 6th round. We don't care about the Capital One Cup. We don't even care about the Community Shield. But the board's happy we won it. It's just, not that big of a deal. It's 50% if for most things. It's 55 because they didn't care, but we won it. So, great, but who cares? And then we're playing attacking soccer as the philosophy that we're playing by right now. And the board hasn't seen enough games to make any real decision on that. But continental competitions are very interesting. They pay a fair bit of money per win, per loss, first, second place. Not bad. If you're not familiar with how football works, quick overview. Green is promotion. Yellow is playoffs, and red is relegation. So if I were to finish in the red at the end of this season after 42 games, 38 games, 38 games. After 38 games, if I were to finish in the red, I would be relegated and fall down from the Barclays Premiership to the Sky Bet Championship. If I wanted to get back into the Barclays Premiership, I either need to finish in the green or finish in the yellow and win the playoffs. But if I do poorly again, I can end up in the red and keep getting relegated and be like Portsmouth. You can see they were in the Premiership, and then red, red, red. Then they got a green. They got promoted, and now they're chilling in League One. But Portsmouth used to be a phenomenal team, one of the great teams out there in England. And through a series of bad choices, they fell almost entirely out of the league, out of all leagues. League game goes no lower than League Two. However, the simulation takes it all the way down to the Skrill, which is not FIFA, but it is still a competition that happens to get people into the league. Anyways, that's basically how tournaments work. Same thing for continental competitions, except you can't get relegated. It's continental competitions are knockout. Same with Capital One Cup and the FA Cup. They are tournaments, not leagues. So the tournaments are knockout. Anyways, this is already going on longer than I wanted it to. But long story short, there is a ton of information, a very, very in-depth simulation for every aspect of this game. And I could talk about, like I said, I could talk about this game for hours. If you want to know more about the game, again, put stuff in the comments. As always, put stuff in the comments. I will talk as much as I can about the game, answer any questions. I pretty much know almost everything there is to know about this game at this point. I have done a lot of work. And that's why I could take a team like Swindon, who's decent, and shoot them up into the Premiership in 3 years. So let's go ahead and go into the Newcastle game. So you can see this is the Premier League. This is the matches in the Premier League that are happening right now. None of them are TV matches. If they were TV matches, you'd see a little TV icon over here. You get extra money for TV matches. Makes sense. And this is the team that I have. Let's go ahead and save the game. This will be really quick. It's because I did actually increase the transfer revenue and I increased my youth facilities, my academy. We're putting another $3.1 million into that. So hopefully that'll give us better youth players, get us better access to talented children that I can then put into the first team and have them play for us. I am playing with the mod Homegrown Heroes as the most important mod that I'm playing with, which takes like 1,300 some odd players that were like the best in the very world and makes them 18-year-old wonder kids. So now they're all 21. So pretty much if you see a 21-year-old, they are from that mod. That being said, this game is awesome without the mod. I just wanted to try something new. And honestly, I feel like the mod takes something away. Because it almost seems like every player is awesome. And the players that are good in today's standards, when compared to the homegrown heroes, are really not that great anymore. Which really is kind of sad. But I don't think I'll use a mod like this in the future just because it cheapens the game experience. It really doesn't feel good. One last thing before we start. Tactics. You can make your own tactic. You can basically make it whatever you want. And the tactics determine a lot about the game. There's a lot you can do with a lot of customization. You can see just basic customization right here. The mentality we play with, how fluid we're going to play the game, basic team instructions out of a whole bunch of different opportunities. You can go into player instructions, tell each player or each position to do something different. There are multiple positions for various parts on the field. All this, the striker has the greatest variability, but like I've mentioned before, this game has a huge amount of depth, a huge amount of data, and if you want to do something in this game, there's a pretty good chance you can do it. I have yet to find something that I can't do in this game that I want to do. So let's just go into the next game and show you guys what the match engine looks like. So, teams are warming up. You can see this is our formation, this is their formation, the players and substitutes, respectively. What the press thinks, right here, the matches that are happening, and then the league table. Opposition instructions, so how are you going to play against the team? What are you going to do? Pretty straightforward. I have this set from my assistant coach is doing this for me, and he usually does a good job. And of course, you can go in and modify stuff right before the game. And then a pep talk. So my assistant coach says we should challenge the team with pick up where they left off. So I will tell them assertively to pick up where you left off last time out. So listen keenly. Their different personalities determine how they respond. So deep in thought, don't really care. They listen keenly or passionately, and our striker is motivated. So let's go in there and give them personal talks. I have faith in you. I have faith in you. I have faith in you. And so the team's generally happy. They're more confident. Kind of scroll over this. You can see everything. So happy, confident, and listen keenly and listen passionately. Set up your pre-match instructions, exactly what you want to do. And you can change it. You can't change your lineup, but you can change your tactics right before the game. So let's just jump right in. The match engine is probably the single weakest part of this game, truth be told. It's good, but it's also not. It's really not. A lot of people like to watch it from different views. There are different cameras, and you can change the match speed, what you watch. You can watch the whole match if you really want to. But you can change all sorts of different. You can see it 2D, like this, which actually is really cool. I like watching it this way. Good little ball here, up in the air, coming back down. Ryan's running up, taking it down the side, looking for a cross. Blocked by number 2, sends it across. Huntelaar, Yakubu strikes it, but it's deflected by Krul and flies up and over to give us a corner. You can watch it as the TV would. I just run it director because it just flips between what it needs to. And you can do it replays on goals action, highlights, or no replays. Even in just the basic match engine, in watching the game, there is still a lot of stuff you can do. That being said, you're still the head coach. You need to pay attention to what's happening in the game. Going the other way now, I think the director switched it. Whatever. Huntelaar crosses, and Yakubu is dispossessed. Possession goes to Newcastle, and the defenders clear it. And now they're on the counterattack. Pretty straightforward. You're going to see a lot of the same stuff that you see in a standard football match, but you're also going to see some really stupid play by players that should know better. And that's just the match engine being weird. I have a lot of really good players. Obviously, Newcastle does too. They're a great team. But for the most part, we should do well. But you never know. All this advertisement here on the sidelines, you can click on it unless you disable it. I disabled it, but if you don't, you can actually click on it and see the websites that are listed. So you can go to Sega's website or Football Manager's website or War Child or whatever. Can we change the camera, please? Oh, that's why it's TV. Gosh dang it. What were we at? Rail. No. I don't even know what we were at before. Crap. 2D Classic? Ah, there you go. Main stand. Nope. I should have checked what we were on. Touchline? Maybe. You don't have to have it split. You can actually do field full. Oh, hey, we got a goal. Huntelaar. Got it in there. The crowd goes wild, as the AI says. All right, so let's watch a replay here. Gilroy passes it up. Huntelaar coming in. Beautiful shot past all the defenders. Gets it in the corner of the net, right past the keeper. That's a great shot and a great start for Swindon. The match stats I've customized to show a lot of information. You can disable or enable whatever you want. It normally doesn't come with this much information, but the information's there if you want to look at it. You can check body language, how they're feeling about the game. You can check the formations that they're using. If you change it or they change it, I could change it to a ghost or attacking or something else, but I'm not going to. Latest scores. So we can see Everton's beating Manchester United, Southampton's beating Crystal Palace, Wigan and Swansea, nothing's happening there, and then Swindon's beating Newcastle. You can get a report of the match, a written report for what's happening. Feedback, stats. The Manchester United just scored back, tying up the game. Zoom the vertical scrolling. How about that? Wolves has shown a yellow card for probably a bad tackle or something, a foul of some sort. All right. I have to fix this camera when I'm done. Bugs me. Okay, this is vertical scrolling. I'm not a fan of that. What about... Oh my god. No. Close? There we go. Close. Oh! Oh, that should have been a goal. Huntelaar almost got another goal there. I think that's where we're at. Anyways. There's not much more to say other than pretty much all you have to do is watch the game and pay attention to what's happening. So right now we're winning, we're doing really well. There's nothing that I need to do. There's no reason to change anything. It's just gonna play and it's doing well. We're coming up on halftime here in the next 5 minutes or so. At halftime I get to talk to my team. And I can make major tactical changes if I want to. I can do whatever I want. But for the most part, I'm not going to do anything at halftime other than say the team's doing well and to not get complacent. So Fotheringham, going to send it out. All right. Rakitic, bad header. Was he onside? Assistant ref says he was. Newcastle gets a goal and ties it up, and that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Playing at Newcastle, so there's only so much we can do. And yes, I know this is not Newcastle's actual stadium, but they're working on it. The match engine, like I said, the match engine's the weakest part of the game, which is kind of frustrating because most of the game revolves around, you know, playing football. But that being said, finding players, building tactics, it's all a lot of fun as long as you enjoy that kind of stuff. I mean, this is not FIFA. You're not going to go play the game. But you are allowed to control the entire back room and everything else that happens. It's very similar to running a business or anything of that sorts. It's just very accelerated. All right, we're doing well. Yeah, you know, they're composed, motivated, self-assured. A little aggressive. I'm far from pleased, guys. It fires him up. A little risky, but it fired him up. And then passionately, I believe you can do better. Defense likes it more than the offense, but I did instill some confidence in them, which is good. And I fired up everyone else. So hopefully they'll get out there, they'll be fired up. Quick stats, goals scored, assists made, and goals conceded. How far they've moved, what their current condition is, physical condition, their morale, their body language, how well they're playing. 6.8 is pretty good. 7 is really where you want it to be. Anything higher, awesome. Anything lower than a 6.5 is really, really pathetic. Really bad. And of course, personal talks, reactions, positions, names. We'll just jump into the second half real quick. This video is going way longer than I wanted it to, but that's because this game is not what you see is what you get. I know I've done a lot of those recently. This game is pretty much the exact opposite of that. This is not what you see, what you get. This is what you see is the bare bones skin, and what you get is this really intense, really super in-depth simulation that is infinitely complicated and needs a lot of time and patience to properly work on. It's a time investment, for sure. You can't just sit down and play the game. You have to really put a time investment into it. One last thing, something I don't really want to show, but the game features some microtransactions. They are not necessary, and you can only use them in single player. But if you want to, they are available. That being said, if you don't buy anything from don't use any microtransactions, you're not going to be any worse off for it. But if you want to speed up the game, you want to make it easier for yourself, the microtransactions are there. It's just not really necessary. There are 2 modes, and of course a tutorial of the game, Football Manager and Football Manager Classic. I am in the full mode, but the Classic mode is a quick version of the game. It's a lot more simplified, a lot less in depth. Yakubu didn't get it. Very good run though. But the Classic mode is very basic, whereas the full version is what I'm showing you here, which is very, very in-depth and a lot to work with. If this seems overwhelming, play Classic for a couple seasons, get used to the game, and then move on to... Oh, Gilroy, you should have gotten that. Then move on to the main game and really experience everything the game has to offer. There is a lot. That being said, the Classic mode is kind of a casual way to play the game, really. The tutorial is very monotonous, very boring, but it does get the point across, and I do think you should actually do the... Oh! Goal! Who gets the credit for that goal? What in the world? Huntelaar, Yakubu, who gets the credit? I want to know. What? Let's watch. What the heck? Huntelaar passes up to Yakubu, who tapped it, and then Cruel couldn't get a hold of it. No, Huntelaar was the last one to touch it. Cruel just couldn't hold on to the ball. Weird. That's unexpected. Yakubu almost sentenced it for Ryan. Cruel made a very bad mistake there and gave us a goal. That does not happen very often. That is very rare, especially at this level. But even at like the absolute lowest levels of the game, back in the Skrill, north-south, the very lowest level, that still never happens. That was actually quite the treat. I'll take it. All right, so we're approaching 61 of 90 minutes. Let's go ahead and see if we need subs. Botic's not doing great. Honda, meh. Bulls is doing really bad. Let's put Contrao out there. I don't want to change anyone else, really. Not yet. But Wolves needs to come on in. Reset opposition instructions. And confirm. Contrao. I have faith. Get out there. I don't even know what I was talking about before I got that goal. I just know we got the goal. Uh-oh. That's dangerous. Oh. They immediately get a goal back. That hurts. We were doing so well. So well. All right, well. Credit to them, though. They played it very well. They took it right past Fotheringham with his speed. Fotheringham just didn't do a good job there. That's okay. We're supposed to lose to Newcastle, so if we get a draw, that's not bad. Yakubu goes down. Free kick for Swindon. Yakubu needs quick physio, but we're not getting any notifications up here. Players can, of course, receive injuries, and you can sub them or keep them on in some cases. But you need to keep some extra players around. Alright, what do we have to do? How about we play Salaberry on for Yakubu? On to Subotic. Alright, well, let's play Connor Cody on for Subotic. Right, reset and go. So that's our third substitution. Normally, I can play all three subs and don't have an issue. Sometimes I pay for it, but very rarely. Referee shows Carrico a red yellow card. Salaberry comes on for Yakubu. Cody comes on for Subotic. Honda with the free kick. Goes over. That's unfortunate. Anyway, guys, we're coming up here on the very end. After the match, we'll get an opportunity to talk to the press, and we'll get a match report and all sorts of fancy stuff that I can use for analysis, if I so choose. It's not necessary, but it is helpful. Kuntelar, ooh, not your best. Not your best. Talking to the press is pretty straightforward. And they ask a lot of the same questions over and over, so it's really just almost automated at this point. But I'm not going to bother showing that. This match is the end, so I do hope we win. Oh! That's unfortunate. Huntelaar had an opportunity but got dispossessed by a good tackle. Oh, goodness. Wow, a lot of draws today. What a boring day. Oh, it's 2-2-2-2, 0-1-2-2. That's very odd. Doesn't happen very often. Although that being said, that's happening a lot for us lately. For and against is exactly the same. Every game we've played so far has been a draw. That's very unfortunate. Except for the Europa League. We've actually won our match there. That's why we're winning the Europa League right now. But anyways. Looks like we're coming up on the end here. Just another minute or two. 3 minutes extra time. Fotheringham sends it out to Contrao. 3 minutes. Can we get a goal in 3 minutes? Honda, Contrao. Gonna do. Okay, not a good pass. Honda let it play through, and there was no one there for him. That's really very bad. Very, very bad. On, let's stop him from getting a goal, guys. Was he offsides? Doesn't matter. It went wide. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you next time with another Take a Peek episode. This has been Football Manager 2014, a game that I love, a game that has a lot of depth, and a game that I can't possibly explain in one episode, but I tried. So, see you guys next time. I'll tell the team that they were unlucky. Meh reaction. Great second half. Not really impressed with how you did. Now you can do all sorts of stuff. Really impressed with how you did either. That was really bad at the very end. You have not done well, Subotic. Maybe you should sit on the bench for a while. Anyways, post-match, media's like, yeah, okay, fine, we got that. A lot of draws, which is weird. Milestones, match analysis, and it goes into much greater depth if you want. But I'm not going to bore you guys with that because, again, this has gone way over what we needed to. Confidence is high. Great to have him. Good solid game. All right, we're done. Played, what, 5 games unbeaten? Slightly disappointing start with this. Overcome a slightly disappointing start. Yeah, we have 5 draws in a row. That's like unheard of. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you next time with another Take a Peek episode. Take care.